Hi guys! So there've been quite a few changes in my planning system since the last time I did a lineup video in February, and I thought that I would just go through and show you everything so that you can see what's different. So we'll first start off with the ones that are the same. This is my Hobonichi Weeks, which, as you know, I use as my personal planner, and absolutely nothing has changed here since the last time I showed it. I'm happy to report that I love using it as a wallet, and as you know, if you've seen any of the other recent Weeks videos, I am the last person that I ever thought would be using a planner/wallet combo, but for some reason it works really well and I love it, so that's awesome. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is that color is definitely back. And that's thanks to all of you, because I had gone monochrome and it was really depressing and everyone said use color again, and so I introduced the color again and I'm really happy. So that's the weeks. Then the next planner that's still the same is my Hobonichi Cousin, which is my work planner. And I did a setup video on this quite recently when I started using it, and so there's nothing new here, but I'll just mention that I'm really enjoying just using it like kind of completely simply, meaning that I don't use any stickers, I don't use any different colors, just one color, purple fountain pen, the whole thing is purple. I really like it. It just looks like nice and clean and straightforward, and I'm very happy with that. And the other thing that I'm really happy with, which is a kind of like new development for this year, is using this monthly page, the page that you get at the beginning of every month, using that as an index for the month so that I know exactly where I can find what within the month. So nothing new here either. Now this is where we start to see some changes. So the last time I did a setup video, I was using the Happy Planner as a meal tracker / home planner. I just started to use it as a home planner, and then when my Disc Agenda Diva came, I switched into that because I had known, like, kind of as soon as I found out that this was coming out, that I would want to use that instead. So I was using it as a meal tracker with the week on 2 pages being used for meal tracking, and the monthly being used as a joint calendar, just for like joint appointments and things like that. And I'm still using the monthly like that. It might seem a little bit odd to be using a monthly for planning and the weekly, which has got bigger pages, for something that seems a bit more specific. But the reason for this is that this is, as I've said before, this is like a satellite planner, meaning that there's nothing or almost nothing that's only in this planner. Everything else is either in my personal planner or my work planner, in terms of my stuff. And then James's things, I often write them in here because he's kind of an intermittent planner user. He kind of suffers from frequent planner fail and like doesn't use his planner. So sometimes I write things down that he's doing and I write them in here, but I'll also write them in here as well. And it's really just joint appointments and like things that we both specifically want to do together. I also write down Shabbat time, so like times that the Sabbath, the Jewish Sabbath, comes in and out, and like Jewish holidays. And if there are like particular things that we want to do that is relevant for both of us to know, like this is the day before Passover starts, so I've written down Passover, Pesach clean. I was using this as a shopping list, the monthly list, but then I decided to start using notepad paper instead, which I'll show you. Anyway, so this is working really well. At one point I was considering ordering a separate set of inserts from Dokibook, because you can just buy these inserts on their own, and I really like them, so that I would have one set of inserts just for like weekly inserts for planning, and then another one for the meal tracking. But for now I don't need to, because this works well enough. We don't feel like we need more room. So that's the monthly. Then the weekly, as I said, I was using it as a meal tracker, and what happened was when we were first using that, we felt like it was quite helpful, because we are very bad at like kind of skipping meals, or like sort of forgetting to eat anything until we're starving, and then like don't want to have to wait to cook something, and just generally being very disorganized about food. And this is unfortunately a trait that James and I both suffer from, so we're kind of like, a bad influence on each other in that way. So we thought that like sort of having to write it down would make us, sort of a bit more accountable. And at first that was working quite well, but then when things started to get like, really bad, when Panda was sick, we just stopped using it. Then I started using it again, and James never picked it up again. So I was using it, but kind of just out of a sense of duty, really. And I didn't feel like it was helping anymore. It was just like another task that I had to do, and I would write it down and then not look at it again. And so after a while, we were both like, what's the point of this? It's really not helping. It's just like an extra chore. And so we decided to give meal planning a go instead. And this was really revolutionary because, as I've mentioned before, we'd tried meal planning in the past and it never worked out at all. And what we would try to do is just to like plan out the dinners for the week. And then inevitably we would come to the day, not feel like making that thing, realize we didn't have the ingredients, which I know the point of meal planning is supposed to be that you get the ingredients that you're going to need because you've already planned what you're going to have, but we couldn't manage to do it. And then we'd end up making something else, and then the whole meal plan would just not work. And so that was just always a disaster. This time, I had this revolutionary idea. That's probably not revolutionary for a lot of you, but for some reason it took me a long time to figure this out. I was like, what's the point of planning? Like, why do I plan in my other planners? Like, why do I write down appointments and to-dos and stuff? It's so that I don't have to worry about, have I remembered it? What am I forgetting? Do I have an appointment? Where should I be? I just open my planner and I know it all, and it tells me what to do. It's like a guide to life, which I think is what is so comforting about having a planner for a lot of us, is that it just, it just is like, do this. It's like your helpful friend and assistant who's just guiding you along. So I thought, like, why not take the same approach to meal planning? And instead of just planning dinners and then having it not work, just plan the whole day. So we started planning like every meal, which I'd never done before because I'd never allocated it enough space. I'd always just like put it into a really small space. And I think I've seen a lot of people do this. Like, if they have a layout like this, they'll like kind of allocate just like a little bit at the bottom for dinners. Not everyone does it like that, but I think that's quite common, and that was the approach that I had, and that wasn't working. So I thought, like, instead we'll just do it the same way that we did the food tracker, which was like we had the whole weekly spread. This is like morning, this is afternoon, this is evening, and like really sort of give it a place of honor. So we'll just write down everything, because often, like with me, things kind of can start off like badly from the morning. So like, I'll get up late and not eat any breakfast, and then it will be like 2, and then it'll be like, oh, I don't know what to do now. So I'm really, really bad at it. And I think maybe in a way working from home can make things worse, because you don't like have a, I don't know, designated lunchtime or like a place to go where you can like just buy lunch. So we just started writing down everything. And like from the first day, I was just amazed by how much of a difference it made. So like with my other planners, I would just go to it and it would tell me what to do. And it was so reassuring, because it was like, okay, you're going to have oatmeal with bananas and dates for breakfast, and then later you will have a snack of grapes, and also you have chocolate. And one of the things that it does is remind us of the food that we have, because often like we would make something for dinner and have leftovers, and I would just forget to look in the fridge and not eat the leftovers, or like kind of not like look at them and not feel like eating them, and then not eat them, and then we would eventually have to throw them away because they'd been in the fridge for like a week. So this has just totally stopped all that, because we do it the night before, and so we just work out like what we're going to have, and it takes like 5 minutes at the most, as opposed to meal tracking, which felt like it was taking a long time, because every time I had something I would have to write it down, and then I didn't even use it for anything anyway. So it doesn't take very long to do, and then the whole day is just set out, and if we need something, like we'll try to, if we have leftovers, and I'll say like leftovers for lunch, and then I remember, and it's like the planner is telling me to have it, and so I'm like, okay, I'll have that and I'll use it up, and then we're like saving a lot of food that we would have probably ended up throwing away before. And also it reminds me of things like often we have avocados and I just forget them and I forget to eat them, and then they go off, and then I'm like, no, the precious avocados, because I love avocados, and I was like, why did I forget to eat them when they were ripe? So this has just been like so amazing. Probably for a lot of you are like, this is totally normal to me, this is not revolutionary, but for me, like, this is a huge deal, so I'm very excited about it, and the meal planner is just amazing and I love it. And also I'm just like putting in a little tiny bit of stickers, so I've just been putting in meal plan with stickers, because I happen to have these alphabet stickers and like just a couple of stickers on in blank pages. So that we've done that for like, I think that this is probably now the beginning of the 3rd week, and it's just going really, really well. And here writing down how much we spend on food every week, just to kind of try to get a handle on that. And this is a new element. So I got this was just a Fox notepad, and I punched it because I have a punch mania since I got my Mambi punch, and I love punching things and putting them in this planner. And so I'm using this for shopping list for the week. And that's that. So that's the meal planner, which is a huge success. And then in the rest of this, in the back, I've just got some things like I'm putting in some recipes. So like, for example, because they give you some sample recipe sheets. So I've got a recipe for toothpaste, like zero waste toothpaste, because I'm making my own toothpaste, which is very exciting. And then we've got like some other things like we put in, this is some Romanian dog commands, because we have got a new rescue dog called Mochi. I think that a lot of you already know about Panda. I haven't been able to sort of mention it directly on here because it's too upsetting. But we lost Panda in February. He had a heart condition, and so we've adopted a new rescue dog because we felt like we wanted to do something positive, because we were just so upset, and we still are, and we still miss him just as much, but we wanted to give another dog a home. So our new dog is called Mochi, and he comes from Romania, and he was a street dog. Apparently, we don't know if he's ever lived in a house before, but we thought we would learn some Romanian dog commands just in case he understands them. And then I've got just a list of like some things like zero waste shopping, like places in London where you can get unpackaged food, and specifically what each of those places has, like the ones that that we've been to, because we're trying to like kind of become more and more zero waste, which can sometimes be quite challenging. So this is like it's good having a list. And then I made a list of videos that on James has a YouTube channel, and in a lot of his videos Panda and Tails like featured. So we went through and wrote down all the videos that have Panda in them so that we can make a compilation video of just like Panda scenes. And then I've got some blank note paper that comes from the Happy Scrappy subscription from when I was getting the kit, and this was punched for a 6-ring binder, so I just covered the holes with washi and punched them with my amazing Miracle Mambi punch and put them in. And then there are some extra like to do, I've got a few like to-do lists that like this is like sort of long-term things that we want to do in the flat, like we want to paint our rocking chairs like colorful colors, and so I've got those in here. And that's this, and then I've just got some stickers in the front, and that's the Diva. So I'm really, really happy with this. It's just working very well as a combination planner and meal planner. So these three are my 3 planners. I mean, the rest of the planners that I'm going to show you are not actually planners. I don't plan in them. They're more like logs or lists or trackers of some sort. So here they are. This is a sneak peek. Now they're going back into hiding, and I'll show you the first one. This is my gratitude log. I sometimes call it a gratitude journal, but I think technically it's really just lists. It's really a log. I don't actually write sentences in it. So just to show you how I use it, it's the same. If you saw my gratitude journal set up, I'm using it the same way. I'm really happy with that. So what I do is on the right here, to the right of this like kind of line in the Hobonichi, I write near the beginning of the day. I write like kind of things that I'm happy about or grateful about, and then on the left I write things that I am visualizing that I want to happen. And then at the end of the day, I come back and write in this checkbox space here. I write like kind of the best 5 things or the best 4 things that happen in the day. So that's how I'm using that. And the Hobonichi A6, the original, works really, really well for that. It has like all of these nice little sections that you can use perfectly for that. So that's the first of the logs. And then this one is my Zinidori unicorn in gold personal size, and you've seen this one before as well. This is the Cinephile. So this is the only one of our list kind of types of lists that survived from the period when we were using, at one point it was a traveler's notebook, and then at another point it was a Levenger Circa notebook that I was using to keep all kinds of like, you know, lists and sort of like long-term stuff, just general stuff of relevance to us. And some of them went into this. So like some of the lists that I showed you, that type of list like went into here if it's kind of like household things, like things we want to do with the flat and stuff like that. And this was the only one that somehow seemed like kind of important enough to make into its own planner. And that's because we both like, we like going to the cinema, and I've actually never gone to the cinema very often until recently. It was only when Panda was sick that like we started going to the cinema, because that was sort of like the only somehow thing that we could do to get our minds off it. And so we've sort of since then we've kept going to the cinema, and also like kind of just to keep track of things that we want to see, so that we don't forget them, or so that we have something in mind if we're trying to decide, and we can remember like, oh yes, that it's not that important. It's not like, you know, life was a disaster when we didn't have a cinema tracker, but it's quite useful. And it's very, very plain, but I just got this in Paperchase. It says Dream in Technicolor, and I thought it was very appropriate for the cinema planner. So I just got two of them and washi them together and made it like a kind of front and back dashboard for this first insert, which is films that we want to see in the cinema. The second one is films that we want to see at home. So these are either ones that are, you know, year old, like quite old, or that we didn't manage to see when they're in the cinema, and then I transfer them onto this list. And then the third insert is TV shows that we want to see, and then I just tick them off when we've seen them. And then the fourth one is just like kind of a scrap paper insert. We just use this when we're trying to decide, like when we've got sort of a short list and we're trying to decide which one we want to watch. So I've only used it once so far. Hello, Mochi. Mochi's just come up behind me and sitting on the sofa. Hello. How are you? So yeah, that's the Cinephile. And it's really convenient having this. I like it. And then the last two that I want to show you are completely new. So this one, you've probably seen this planner itself before. I did a review of this a few months ago, and it was originally supposed to be a present for someone, and then I got them something else that I thought they would like better in the end, and so I just kept this, and it's been a spare planner the whole time, and it's kind of been bugging me how I didn't have a use for it, but I just kept it because I thought perhaps at some point during the year a use will become apparent, and it has. So James and I have started using this as our shared exercise tracker. We actually had a shared exercise tracker last summer. We were using a Marian Smith binder with the Marian Smith inserts, and James particularly really liked us both having our exercise tracker together, and I liked it as well. But then in One Book July I consolidated and I started putting my exercise tracking into here, and then James just stopped doing exercise tracking after that. And so we were just talking about it recently, and I said, oh, would you like to have the joint one? Because he had like said he really liked it, and he said, yes, let's bring it back. So we decided to use this. And the only time that this had been used, it had a brief like 2-day stint as a meal planner. This was one of the previous failed attempts at meal planning that I mentioned. So you can see I just wrote down like dinners on 2 days, and that was a disaster. It didn't work. So then we stopped, but now we're using it like this. So we just write down, it's just really, really simple. Like we both write down what exercise we've done that day, and then we can compare it. And I should mention that I'm using a Pilot Metropolitan fine nib, and you can see that there is a lot of shadowing and like kind of bleed through in some places even, which I'm really surprised about, because I had always heard that Leuchtturms were fountain pen friendly, but this one isn't. Like, this is worse than what I've seen on any of the, I mean, I have a lot of Tomoe River paper, but the Doki Books paper is excellent for fountain pens. Like, so I was surprised about that, but it doesn't really matter for these purposes, because this is the sort of thing that doesn't have to be pretty. So that's the exercise tracker. And so I've actually stopped exercise tracking in this because I didn't want to reduplicate, any more than I have to, and there's really no reason to if it's in this. So the final one is a dream tracker or a dream journal. So I've just started keeping a log of any dreams that I can remember, I write down as much as I can remember about it. And this is an A5 Filofax Flex in black, and then the notebook is a 7 Seas writer, which I've had for about a year, and I wasn't sure what to do with it, and then this just seemed to be the perfect use for it, because I wanted it to be something kind of, you know, I wanted the dream journal to have like kind of a nice respectable journal. And it's great. It's Tomoe River paper. It's really, really nice. So I just like write down the date, and then I write down as much as I can remember. And at first I felt like this pressure that I should do it every day, and that I should like try to remember my, you know, dreams every morning. The idea is that you're supposed to write them down as soon as you wake up, because, you know, you forget them quite quickly. But often I wake up, well, always, I wake up the last minute. And so, you know, like if I have to go out of the house, then I just like don't manage to write it down. Or sometimes I'm like kind of half asleep and I think, oh, I should write down this dream before I forget it. And then I'm too sleepy, and then I go back to sleep and I think I'll write it down later, and then I don't remember it when I wake up properly. So I was getting really stressed, feeling like, oh, I'm not going to finish this journal. I'm not going to be able to fill it up. And then I thought, like, who cares? If this is like the only dream journal I ever have, and this lasts for the rest of my life, it's fine. You know, like even if I only manage to write them down like once a week or something, it's okay. It's not like I'm doing this for a competition or anything. So I'd say on average, I probably write them down like maybe twice a week, sometimes more, but probably not much less than like once a week at a minimum. So yeah, I started filling in the page numbers, because I thought after I've been going for a while, it would be nice to know what page I'm on. So I'm on page 17 at the moment. And yeah, it's really nice. I think that it will be fun to look back on. And so I guess that this is the closest that I come to an actual journal, in that it's, you know, proper writing with sentences. But even so, I'd say it's not like comparable to what I think of as a real proper journal, because this is sort of just dictated by what I've dreamed. I just try to write it down in as much detail as I can remember, and that's it. But it's definitely more of a journal than any of my other ones, which are, you know, just trackers. So there you have it. You have on the one side the tracker journal log family, which has got 4 members. And then on this side, you've got the planners. So this is like kind of for things that are going to happen, and this is for things that have already happened. And this one is, well, this is just a book of lists. This is technically things that have not happened yet, but it's not in the form of a plan. So that is my current planner lineup in its totality. Aside from this, I've also got some reference binders, so you know, ring binders that I keep documents in. And I've also got the Jewish calendar, which some of you have seen before, which I'm just using to check the dates. So like to check when Jewish festivals are, and, you know, when just sort of Jewish calendar information. And I was trying to decide where to draw the line. So like, what would I include in my planning system? Like, do I include the reference binders in my planning system? Do I include the Jewish calendar? And I decided to draw the line at my planning system. My core planning system, as I consider it, only consists of those books that I write things in. So these are all of the books that I write things in. And the other ones are like storage binders or reference binders that are more like books that I consult. And so that's where I've drawn the line. And that made me very happy, because I've never been sure whether to include the Jewish calendar and the reference binders in my planning system or not. So now I have a system, which is perhaps kind of arbitrary, but that's what I decided on. So I hope that you enjoyed this. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back again soon with another video. Bye!